Hey everybody, my name is Alex. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is like the 7th video I've made tonight. I'm gonna be real honest with you. Um, the first one that I was trying to make just wasn't happening because the Holy Spirit wanted me to go somewhere else. Oh, hold on. Oh, excuse me. Um, and I'm really not. How do I say this? Not looking forward to making this video, simply because it's out of my comfort zone kind of thing. But I'm going to do it anyways because I need to, because someone needs to hear this. Um, Pretty much, the Holy Spirit's wanting me to tell you guys my testimony and to go through it and inspire somebody. I don't know who is about to watch this video that needs to hear this, but just do it because I was told to. So, where can I start here? I'll just start from. I won't give you my whole testimony. Long story short, um, parents got divorced, depression at an early stage of life, jacked up emotional issues from as long as I can remember. Um, Looked for men to fill voids in my life that only one man could, and that would be God. And so there is a lot of emotional needs that were not being met because I was looking in the wrong places. And so, fast forward to my last relationship. Ended up getting pregnant. Had Sienna. She's asleep right here. Ended up having Sienna. Best thing that's ever happened to me, Sienna. Seriously, she's the biggest blessing in my life. I would not take anything back. I wouldn't change anything in my entire life because I wouldn't want to risk the chance of not having her. Um, and I also think that if you regret decisions that you made, um, you're also regretting or taking back, taking away the things you learned from those bad decisions. So I wouldn't change anything about my past, simply because of who I am now and all the things I learned from my past. So I'll just go through it quickly. I had Sienna about 11 months later. It's like 10 and a half, 11 months later. It was like 10 and a half months later. Her dad ended up leaving. Um, that was rough. That was rough. I loved him with everything I had. Literally, I loved him too much. And that was the issue I was having. The whole relationship, the Holy Spirit was constantly talking to me, um, because obviously I was sinning sexually and I knew it. I knew it. And I was running from God. I was running from my ministry that I know I'm gonna have someday. I was running from his voice and like just his presence, and it's so like I don't want to cry. I hate crying, but it sucks. Like that would be like if I could go back, if I could. I don't want to say that. Okay, I hate that I ignored God, but I love that I have CNF. If that makes sense. I feel like everything happened exactly like it was supposed to, just because of the way everything turned out. Um, I'm the type of person that has to learn things the hard way, so I had to get broken all the way completely down. I had everything taken from me, a place to live. Uh, I have to now share time with my daughter with someone else. My man, he was gone. My car exploded. Didn't really explode. It just stopped working. I didn't have a job. Um, so yeah, all of this stuff was happening at one time. I was petrified of what my future looked like because I went from one day, like literally, the breakup was completely like I had no idea it was coming. Like apparently he did, but I had no clue. And I'm gonna say this too, so that y'all don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that the breakup was only his fault. I was a nagging nutcase because I was not myself at all. Like I wasn't myself at all because I wasn't where I needed to be spiritually. And when you're not walking in the Spirit, you even when you don't realize it, you can be someone you're not. And so I think that that's a really big reason as to why we didn't work out. I'll say I'm a big reason. Like, he's a big reason. I'm a big reason. We're an equally big reason. I don't think that neither one of us were perfect or even close. I think we both could have tried a lot harder. Um, I think I could have opened my eyes, and we could have been a lot better if we would have done things the right way. But we didn't, and it didn't work out, and that's fine. He's happy with who he's with, and I'm happy with who I'm with. Um, and so things ended up. I mean, at first it was. I'm not gonna lie, it was rough, but things ended up working out. And now it's just about trying to do things the right way and trying to stay on track with God and make sure that you do everything the right way. Because when you go through something like that, and I know whoever I'm talking to right now, you're in the midst of it. You're in the battle, honey. Like, it ain't the whole war, but it's a battle. Every day is a battle. This whole life's a war. And I'm not talking about physically, mentally. I mean, sometimes it feels like that, but I'm talking about a spiritual war. We are constantly fighting. When me and her dad first broke up, I have to be careful. I don't want to say names because I don't think it's necessary. But when me and her dad first broke up, I didn't eat for 3 weeks. I didn't take my finals. I think I took one. Failed it. Don't know how I passed my classes. I really have no idea. Um, I didn't eat. Yeah, I contemplated suicide like literally every day for 3 weeks. I didn't really do anything. I laid in bed. I cried constantly. He's all I could think about. And I found out fairly quickly. Actually, I found out within a couple of weeks about um, the new girl. And so that was hard to process. It wasn't just like, if it was just a boyfriend and not the father of my child, it would have been a lot different, because if it's just a boyfriend, that's fine. Like, they can live happily ever after, and I don't ever have to see you again. But since you have a kid with them, I mean, you have to see them, especially when he's wanting to, be in his daughter's life, which is great. Like, I'm so happy for that. That I actually got lucky enough to have an ex that really does want to be in his daughter's life. But it was rough because I went from, like I said, the breakup was kind of out of nowhere for me. So I went from like thinking that I was about to marry this man to finding out that he actually hasn't loved me in a long time, and he's trying to be with somebody else, and now my daughter has this other woman in her life. Like, it was crazy. It just all happened at the same time, and so it was rough. It was rough, and like I said, I'm happy he's happy. So it worked out for him, and that's good. But and it worked out for me. I don't know everything he went through, so I'm not going to sit here and say it wasn't hard for him. It's probably still is hard for him. He doesn't get to see his daughter as much as he used to. And I know he's working a lot. And so, like, both of us have our issues. Like, we're both going through stuff. So don't think that I'm sitting here trying to have a pity party for myself, because, honey, I ain't. Like, we both got issues. We both messed that up. And so that's on both of us. But I'm going to tell you my side of it. When we're over, like I said, for 3 weeks is awful. I finally started going back to church. My first time back to church, to my home church, in like literally 3 years, probably 2 years, like on a Sunday. Okay, I had been there for a conference or something when I was with a different church a couple of years before that, but this was like my first time back to my home church in like a couple of years. And I walked in so guilty. Like, when I first walked in the doors, I didn't know anybody. I knew a couple people, like the pastors obviously were still there, but walking in, I literally felt like I was about to get just like judged and put down, and I got really, and this was all just my head, like I just really felt awful, guilty about my whole life. I didn't want to go back to church because of my guilt, but I knew I had to go. When you get to a certain point where you don't have anything but God, you do what it takes to get him back. And I knew that I had figured out just one night. It was like I said, 3 weeks after me and him broke up. I was just crying, and I was like, God, I can't do this. Like, I remember it, and I'm gonna start crying. But I was like, God, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this without you. I couldn't, like, there's physically nothing I could do to make myself want to do anything. And every time I looked at my daughter, I knew that I wasn't giving her the life that she needed. And that's what killed me the most, is that, I want to be such a good example for her. And I want to be this strong and intelligent and, like, this perfect mom. But I couldn't even get out of bed because I was so upset. And so I was just praying, God, please, Lord, like, just please show yourself to me. Like, I need you. I know I've been running from you, and it's stupid, and I'm sorry, and please forgive me. And something in me was just like, you gotta get back. You gotta get up. Another thing that kind of helped was, after that night, my dad had come over to Jake's parents' house because I was still living there for a little bit after me and him broke up. And he walked up here, up to my room. And I'll never forget this. He walked up to my room and he called me, or he looked at me and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was laying in bed crying because that's all I did for 3 weeks. I was like, "What do you think I'm doing? I'm laying in bed. I don't feel like doing anything." He's like, have you eaten?" I was like, "No, I haven't eaten. I'm not trying to eat, like, whatever." And he's like, "You need to get up, like, you need to get up, and you have a daughter to live for," like, going off on me about, he said, "You're a Snyder. Snyders don't do this." Like, it was so, and I'll never forget that. I was like, "Okay, Dad, like, you're right, Dad, I'm so sorry." But I will never forget that day. He came up and he was like, "You are a Snyder." I'm like, okay, I'm tough, I got this, I can do this, like, da-da-da. But yeah, so not only was my my earthly dad kind of trying to get me to pep up, but my spiritual dad, my papa, my God, my Lord, he was like, "You gotta come back to me." And I can remember it, like, I have my journal around here somewhere. I have like 9 million, I have 4 sitting in front of me, but he was like, I never left you. That's the thing, like, you don't understand. Like, even when you were telling me to go away, even when you were ignoring me, like, I sat there and I waited for you to come back to me. I cannot imagine. Okay, think about it this way. This is how I thought about it from that night on. I was sitting there and I was thinking about how I felt that my ex was with somebody else, okay? So I'm thinking about him and this girl, and it was all really fresh. Like, it was all really, really fresh. Like, it just happened. And so I was like, okay, I could not bear the thought of them being together, okay? And God showed me. He said to me, "You know how you feel right now. How much you love that man. But he's in love with somebody else." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "You've been like that for 5 years, and I've been here the whole time waiting for you." And it made me think about that. Like, think about that. Think about the person that you love the most, okay? Think about the person you love the most in your whole life right now. If they were to leave you and not speak to you, not acknowledge you, ignore you, put you on the back burner for 5 years. 5 years. Are you waiting on them? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. And so God was like, he was like, honey, like I've been here. I want you back. I still love you today just like I did yesterday. I love you more. Like I love you so much. And I've been waiting on you to just come home. Like I just want you back. And I was like, oh my God. Like, like I'm crying right now and it's not even happening to me. But like, I was like, oh my God. Like, face to the bed, like bawling, like ugly crying. Um, it was like, it was a good but a bad thing for me. Excuse me. I need to find something to wipe my nose with because I'm using diaper wipes, whatever. But yeah, so it was like, it was, a kind of a groundbreaking night for me. Like that's what got me to go back to church. I'm like, okay, God, like this is gonna suck for me. Like this is really gonna suck. But you've been waiting on me, so I'm gonna show out. Like I'm coming for you. Like I'm just gonna do it. And so I went to church and they had a guest speaker and it was spot on. Like everything the speaker was saying was exactly what I needed to hear. And then the next week the same thing. They didn't have a guest speaker, but pastor was talking about exactly what I was praying about the week before, and then the next week, and the next week, and the next week, and then Time to Revive came to Indiana, or not came to Indiana, but came to Porter County, whatever. And so everything they were doing is saying it kind of got me back on track, and I met one of my best friends there, and like all of this crazy stuff, like when I look back on it and I think about it, it's like I don't understand how people cannot believe in a God because literally everything was laid out for me. Like he knew that I was stubborn. He knows I'm stubborn. He knows I'm hard-headed. He knew what it was going to take to get me back and he did it. Like he just did it and he made it so easy for me to just come back to him and not have to feel guilty about it and not have to like think twice and so anyways, fast forward, uh, I got I struggled with, after I got over the fact that he was with, someone else, um, I had to get over the fact that this someone else was going to be in my daughter's life. And that was just as hard, if not harder, than trying to get over the fact that he didn't love me. He apparently hadn't for a while, or so he said, and he's happy with this girl who's like the love of his life, and like just all these things that had all happened at once. So then now I just have to like give my daughter to this girl that I have never met and that I don't know, And so it's like it was hard. It's hard. It's still hard. Like that's something I still struggle with is not so much that he's with her because I don't care that they're together. I'm happy that he's happy. Like he seems very happy with her and that's awesome for him. Um, but it's my daughter. Like I have issues. Like I want to raise my child the way I want to raise my child, and so and me and Jacob parent very differently. I'm not saying he's a bad parent. He loves his daughter. That is one thing I did get lucky with. Like I do have an ex that loves his daughter, and he takes care of her. Thank God. He wants time with her, and so in that case, like I don't have some deadbeat ex that just never wants to see his kids or his kid, and so I'm blessed that way. But it's hard for me to give up my mom card, I guess, if you know what I mean. Sending my daughter with someone else to be a mother figure is like single-handedly the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. And so getting over that, I'm working on it, okay? And it's not a bitterness thing, it's just a pride thing with me. So I'm trying to get over my pride here. And I'll full out admit that, like, I'm very honest with any of the things I'm going through. But yeah, so anyways, I still hadn't given everything up completely. I was constantly in search for a man. I wasn't like trying, like I wasn't pursuing anyone. I wasn't like talking to anybody. I did have like this little flingy thing for like literally a week. It was literally a week. And that was just, oh my God, that was just an emotional thing. Like, I was just like, oh, okay, whatever. He loves God, I love God. Like, let's just talk for a week. And then that was it. But other than that, it was a pretty solid, just me and God time for like 9 months. Um, I literally I've never been closer to God. Um, I was completely dependent on him because he forced me to be. Because God was like, I know you, and I know that if I don't take everything from you, you're not gonna come back. So he did. And then when I had was broken down completely 110%, is when God showed out, and he showed me exactly what he's capable of doing. And he said, if you would just let me, I could do this for the rest of your life. Like, like I said, I was living with his parents. I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car. Okay, and only had my daughter when, like, I have to share my daughter now. Okay, so I immediately got a job, because God provided one. I pretty much immediately had a place to live. My grandparents graciously let me live with them, and that's crazy to me, and they'll never ever 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 understand how much I appreciate that, and continue to appreciate it to this day. Because without that, I have no clue where I'd be. So I love you guys if you watch my videos or if you watched for 21 minutes. I love you guys. Thank you guys. But yeah, and God got me a car the craziest way ever, like a brand new car, not just any car, but a 2016. Like, it's so crazy. But yeah, so he was just providing. He's like, I love you. Like, you're my daughter. Like, don't you know? Like, you're a mom now. Don't you want to give everything to your daughter? So why would I not want to give everything to you? Like, I love you. Let me love you. Let me show you how much I love you. And so every single day after that was just crazy. It was like one thing after another. November was when I got my car. And so I was like I said, I was still kind of going through this whole like, oh, I need a man, type thing. And it wasn't even like, I would tell myself every day, I would pray every single day, like everything for your glory, God. Like, I just want you to pick and choose everything that I do. Like, you do everything for me. I don't want to do anything. And I meant that for my finances and for my job and for my car and for everything. But when it came to that man, I would say it, but I was still trying to like convince myself, like, oh yeah, God, like, you pick my man. You know what I mean? Like, it was still like, I was still like, but God, let me help you pick my man. But then, anyways, we did this Bible study, and I wrote down everything I wanted in a man. And something happened in December to where I'd gotten in a huge argument with someone, and it was just a really, really bad night. I ended up bawling on a Wednesday at church, and I was just like, I literally, for the first time in my life, was like, God, I don't care, like, whatever you want, any man you want from me, if he's from you, I want him. And I made a pact with God about, like, specific things that I wanted, and I promised God I would not date anybody that wasn't from him. And I had been praying for 8.5 months that my husband had said, these specific words, and literally no one, not even a female, had said those words to me in all of the 9 months, and people used to say it to me all the time. And literally that night that I had prayed that prayer of surrender, that night I got a phone call from some random man from Texas that I'd never met, and we were on the phone for 11 hours, and he said the 3 words, and come to find out, like, there was tons of confirmation. Like, my brother RJ, who had no idea who he was like texting me at 2:30 in the morning, telling me to ask him these questions, and like, or like saying like he has a great relationship with his dad, but, or it hasn't always been good. Like, just telling me all these crazy things, and like, I just met this dude, and RJ, my brother, was telling me things about him. RJ doesn't even know him, like, at all. So it was just really crazy, like, all the confirmation we got, and like, to this day, it's just like the same thing. Our relationship is not easy, but no relationship is. But it's by far, it's one of the strongest relationships I've ever been, communication wise. and spiritually, it is by far the strongest relationship that I've ever had. So, anyways, I think that the main reason that I'm supposed to share this with you guys is just so whoever this is for, I know you feel like everything is falling apart. And I know you feel like there's no way out, and like that there's just absolutely nothing and nobody, no one that can help you at this point. Like, you don't have any options, you're scared, you don't know what the future looks like, you don't know how you're going to make it to the next day. But just know that there is someone working for you behind the scenes constantly. Someone that is literally waiting for you to just ask. Like, I wish you could see what I see when I pray. Like, it's crazy to think that God is always more ready to give than we are to receive. Like, that blows me away. After everything I did, after all the times for 5 years that I was like, oh, is you good, God? Like, I ain't trying to hear that. He still was waiting for me to come home. Like, constantly just, I'm gonna love her through it. I'm gonna love her through it. And that's exactly what he's doing for you. He's sitting there, he's waiting for you to turn around and say, God, I need you. I can't do this by myself anymore. Like, I physically can't do this anymore, God. I need you to just come in and, like, take over and just do your thing. Like, do whatever you need to do to bring yourself glory, God, because that's what I want. I want you to have all the glory. And when you get to that point and you start to pray and surrender and you start to constantly give yourself up for something so much bigger than yourself, and you begin to realize that no matter what happens, like, God has always been there, he's always gonna be there, he's never leaving you, he's never forsaking you, he's always gonna love you, he's constantly pulling for you. To have that kind of encouragement all the time, are you kidding me? No person on this entire planet can give that to you. So even though you feel like there's no hope, and even though you can't see what the other side of that mountain looks like, you gotta keep climbing. Okay? Listen to me. Do not give up. Because if you give up, you are never gonna know how close you were to breakthrough. Never. There's absolutely nothing that our God cannot do. Nothing. He can do anything. Anything he wants to do, he can do. Don't doubt him. Okay? You gotta push through this. You gotta stand up. If you don't feel like you can stand, pray. If you don't feel like you can get off of your face, then pray on your face. Pray on your knees. Stay freaking hunched over, whatever. Let God comfort you. But you got to get through this. You're going to get through this. I don't care what you're going through. I really don't. Because I know how powerful my God is, and I know what he's capable of. I may not have experienced the exact same thing as you, but I know so many stories in this book that you can go through and you can read and you can see all of the different ways that God has pulled through for them. Why would he not do the same thing for you? You gotta trust him. You gotta let go. You gotta let go. You cannot hold on to your issues. You cannot hold on to your problems. You cannot hold on to your fears or any job. You can't hold on to a relationship. You cannot do it, okay? You have to give everything